I did want to ask you about another piece of news from this time. And it's about your buddy and former tag team partner, Steve Williams. But it is not good news. Steve Williams and two travel companions are going to get arrested at the Laredo International Airport, are charged with felony possession of controlled substance with drugs, which included 80 boxes of neopercodan, 17 boxes of Valium, 16 boxes of Halcyon, 15 boxes of Temagesic, I think is how you pronounce it, 26 boxes of Darvon, and 8 boxes of Ritreville. So, man, that is a lot of drugs that he was bringing across the border or wherever it was he was coming from. And by all accounts, Steve Williams, a fantastic guy, but drug issues were pretty common fare back in these days. You knew Steve really well. Would you say that you recognize any red flags in his extracurricular activities?
You know, when Steve and I, because Bill Watts tagged us up, and the reason Bill put Steve with me is that, he wanted me to help bring Steve along. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We call it the rub. You take a guy who's relatively new, but he's got he's well known in the area. A starting offensive football player for the Oklahoma Sooners and all that stuff, and legitimately a tough guy.
Yeah,
and legitimately a really nice guy. And so that's why I think Bill put Steve with me, was to help him along. And he did. He learned it pretty quick. But, the only thing I ever knew in terms of again, this news, that's news to me. I never heard that ever. I never heard that Steve Williams and whoever came across the border with that much stuff. Never heard that.
So, I mean, this is news to you, but when you're running around with him out on the road and, making the miles, as they say, did you see him using like a lot of drugs? Or, I mean, everybody was using drugs back then.
Well, I mean, basically just to make the trips. I mean, and it's kind of like, there were a couple of times when we'd pull over on the side of the road because I told him I'm about to fall asleep, and he'd give me a Benny or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and again, I never was, I never got into any of that stuff as it being a daily part of my life.
Right.
It was only as needed. If I'm going to make it's kind of like, I can remember one Thanksgiving where, we had our Thanksgiving dinner, and I got in the car and I drove from Jackson to New Orleans to wrestle, because we were wrestling on Thanksgiving night. And, have dinner, get, with the family, and then have to get in the car and drive 200 miles, and so, and of course I would take something so I would make sure that I was going to stay awake to get home safe. But other than that, no, I didn't take recreational drugs. I mean, I didn't, I guess, even cocaine, which is, something that's supposed to be super addictive. It's kind of like, to me, it was, I wasn't taking it to party all night. I was taking it to survive, make sure I didn't fall asleep at the damn steering wheel, on my way home.
Right.
And so, that's why I remember there was a couple of times where, and again, Steve, he'd be in a car and I'd be in another car, and I'd come up on him, or, and flash my lights and, pull up, and he rolled down the window, and I said, I need a little help. He knew what I meant, and he said, pull over, so we'd pull over, and he, and he'd give me a shot. What was funny is he used to put cocaine in like a prescription bottle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what he would do is he would take the top off and he would just put a little bit in a cap in the top of the thing,
Yep.
and then he'd give you a little straw, and you would just take you would just take part of what he put in the cap. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So he did this. He puts it in the cap and gives me the straw. And I just took the cap and went, he went, what? I said, thanks, Steve. I am good to go. Oh, man.
That's all you needed.
I think back about those days, and gosh, it was wild.